Welcome back. What a Load of Bull, episode 31. Continuing with the dining workshop theme. Ended up with a day on my own today and have managed to come up with a job to do, which will help with the rebuild at the weekend. So I've got the intake here and then I've got the plenum here. One thing I've been wanting to do is to take out this little vacuum reference. It's tiny, it's about 2mm, and that doesn't really work with any of the other hosing that I use, so I'm going to cut that off, drill it, tap it, and then put on a barb similar to this. If I've got room, I might even put a second one underneath it. It looks like a good place to do that. More vac reference points the better, really. It saves me doing lots of T's then. I can use one for boost gauges, and then one for the gas pressure sensor and for the gas regulator. Previously that's all been on one circuit and with lots and lots of T's and Y's and stuff, so not ideal. A bit of a backstory: when I first got the car, way before the channel, it was off the road to be gas converted. I took everything apart. I was going to take my time doing so, and it was actually just after I drilled and tapped the intake, because I left it at work that night. The next day my Subaru got written off, so whereas the LPG was going to be like a long-term project, I ended up having to reassemble everything as it was and then do the conversion later on. So made a few things that just weren't quite ideal, and I'm going to correct them in this round of upgrades. So I'm also going to give everything a good clean and fresh coat of paint. That's not my original throttle body. My one isn't fit for purpose. That's the one that lives in the glove box. Something's not quite right with it. We found out when we first started playing with the standalone. So I'm going to give that a clean and a spray. Everything's going to get a fresh coat of the silver VHT paint just to make it look a bit smarter when it goes back in. Also going to use this time to kind of mock up bracketry and stuff like that for the gas injectors, because I would otherwise have been doing that on the car, and seeing as everything is here, I may as well make headway on that. So here's the loom which I made in the last video. I would like to use this bracket again. I haven't been using that on my previous one. So I'm going to get that attached and then kind of work out how I might be able to incorporate a bracket for the gas injectors, because that's kind of where I had them in mind. And then equally I want to be able to mount off of the throttle body, I think, for the other row of injectors, which is going to be here. There is yeah, it's a bit far away. There is a mount here which I could make use of. So yeah, gonna kind of suss that out today in the warmth, rather than outside in the rain. So yeah, I think the first thing I'll do, get the throttle body off, or yeah, I think I'll start mocking up bracketry first while the throttle body's still on there, because that's something which I might want to tie into. After I've made a bit of headway on that, then I'll take it apart and do the drilling and tapping, get the throttle body off, give that a good clean, give everything a good clean, give it a spray. I'm going to take off these hoses. That's how the gas injects in. And when we drilled them at probably like more of from a mechanical strong point of a thick bit of the casting, because tapping casting stuff can be a bit of a nightmare. It can just fragment and you lose all your thread, so not necessarily ideal in terms of injection. It's pretty close to the petrol though. I'm about an inch off, so I think that's good. I'm going to measure the current jets to see whether they're 6 or 5mm. I've got some 6mm ones, that's 6mm OD for the hose to mount onto. Got a feeling these might be 5. So I might be replacing those, and then I'll use some of these ones to do my map port. If not some of the other ones that I've got, because I've actually ended up with an extra 6. So I think I've worked out my first bracket. This T thing, this is what comes with the injector rails, and that's what these LPG ones look like. These are made by Stagea, the same company that make the ECU that I'm going to be using, and these are their big flow injectors. So they're rated at 60 kilowatt per cylinder, so I think that works out about 400 horsepower, maybe a bit more. I'll do the math and put that on the screen. And what I'm going to do is put a bit of a U in this, so I'm going to put a 90 here and then another 90 here, and then this end can mount in on that part in there, and then the rail itself can mount on the outside here. So I've got a vise, I've got a little blowtorch. So I got my bend point all marked, and now just using my solder iron to try and heat it up a little bit, just so that when I come to fold it, it bends nice. I'll then try and quench it and get it under the tap. Bit crude, I know, but this is the best extra hot sauce I've got. Extra hot sauce. Source of extra heat I've got, so see how we go. Well, that went a lot better than I actually expected. Obviously I hoped for the best, but I didn't think it was going to bend that well, so that looks pretty good. I'm just going to heat it up again and then give it another little tap just to try and keep that right angle, and then I'll pull it out and I'm going to fold it here. Luckily the jaws on here are pretty narrow, so I should just be able to fold it straight over and it shouldn't be a problem. So yeah, pretty pleased with that. Perfect U shape. I had wanted this bend to be a little bit further over, just so that it was more in between, but the radius itself is full, it's not the slotted part, so I think that'll be alright. It's not really load bearing or anything. I put tape on it just so that it didn't get scratched up in the jaws, and it was actually quite useful having this not mounted down, because it meant I could fling it round while I was hitting it. But I'm pretty pleased with that. That's 2 nice 90s, and I think the next, the other bracket's going to be even easier. It's just going to need one fold at the end, so we're going to move on to that one now. Right, that went pretty good. So I've mounted it off centre on the T-bar, but on the bolt which is further back, this is where the O2 sensor will clip in. Don't really like the closeness to that double bolt and the injector harness there, so what I'll probably do is slip a bit of hose over that, just so that that's pushed out of the way and there's no chance that the cables can rub on there. I know it's heat shrink, but over time that will wear through. But other than that, I think that's really good. So over to the next one. Which is going to mount off of here, I think. Oh no, wrong one, sorry. Going to mount off of here. I'll find the T bracket and then show you what I'm thinking. So first thing I was to do was to drill out the end bit, just so that it will slot onto the stud, and that now does. That's nice and tight as well. And then I'm going to do a 90-degree along this midpoint here, same way I did with the last one. That should have the bracket then around about here. Oop. And then I could mount the other injectors around about the same place as well, and that should be pretty symmetrical, although I might, yeah, all looking good. I guess I could have drilled and tapped into the cast. Yeah, no, this is good. I like this. Ooh. Pretty stoked with how that's come out. Ended up having to put a second 90 on that one, but it all fits and I can fit a socket on there to do it up. It's made all the difference getting that done in the comfort of a workbench indoors rather than faffing about in the engine bay. So the way that this will work, this and this will come from the regulator via a filter, and then there's going to be another hose which links the two together like as a balance pipe, very similar to the normal petrol injector rail, but I guess the opposite direction. Somewhere along the line I'm going to put a combined map sensor, so I might have that over here and mount it off of this one, or I might mount that nearer the regulator. I'm not sure whether it's okay to put it in a balance pipe or whether it needs to be somewhere where there's actual flow, because in theory whatever's in the balance pipe could be not flowing, I guess. Cool, so I'm happy with the brackets. I'm going to take those apart now and then start to work on the lower plenum and then kind of work my way up. Right, welcome back guys. We're a couple of days on. I've been a bit busy, so I have been staring at this a lot, but I've not been doing anything productive. I'm not happy with where these have ended up. It's just going to mean too long a run with the injector hose. So I'm going to swap the brackets, and then I think I'm going to mount this one from this point and then this one from lower plenum point and kind of bend it up. I'm going to see what that kind of looks like, but at the moment I don't think that's right. It's just going to mean too long a hose. I need to make sure that these are all the same length as well, so I want to get that as short as possible, otherwise everything's going to have excessive length on it, which is something I'd like to avoid. So yeah, I'm going to have a go at repositioning and see whether I can get it off of that one and try and get them sort of in here maybe. Let's see. Alright, morning all, happy new year. It's the 2nd of January. I took a day off to sleep yesterday, so I'm a little bit behind, but I have been tinkering with these brackets and I think this is how it's going to fit. So this bolt's just in there for reference at the moment, but that's going to mount just like that. And then this one, I have mutilated my bracket, but that one is going to go in there, I hope. So first thing I'm going to do, or the next thing I'm going to do today, is to give it a bit of a dry run on the assembly, get these back in the engine bay just to see whether these plans are going to work or not. This side I'm most worried about because of the valve cover, so yeah, we'll have to see about that one. There is the potential I could move it there, and there's still room to bend the bracket anyway, so be good to test fit it just to see. Then I will, if everything's good, take it all apart again, start with cleaning and painting the intake, the V down here, because that's the first thing that's got to be fitted, and the paint's going to take a little while to dry. Then once that's drying, come back to the plenum. I've still got to drill and tap that one, possibly put in a second port underneath. Clean and paint. Also throttle body, it kind of sticks out like a sore thumb in the engine bay, so that also clean and paint. I would like to get the valley back in the car, this part at least, by the end of the day, but right, valley in and first rail fitted. Clears the valve cover, and there's even a little support there which would have been for the harness, which I could repurpose. You can see it on that side. If I drilled that out a little bit more, then the nut would sit in it, and then that would give a few more mil and give the injectors a little bit more support. So yeah, I'm pleased with that so far. Gonna get the plenum on top now and test fit those ones. and then yeah, go from there. I have got to do a balance pipe which runs around the back, and I've decided with the map sensor to have it over here nearer where the reg's going to be, so that it picks up gas inflow rather than gas which is just going to be kind of stagnant at the back. Alright, first potential issue, which I should have spotted before, these two nozzles kind of straddle that injector, so that's probably not ideal. I'm going to get the plenum on anyway and just check this kind of for space in general. Might be that I bring it all the way down on the bracket and then it will kind of clear that injector on that end, and hopefully still wouldn't get in the way of this one. But yeah, I'm going to get the plenum first just to test that. My other injectors are going to be a bit longer, so I've deliberately not seated these because they're going to be sit 10mm higher, so they should be about where they are, I think. Right, that's annoying. That standoff that I was raving on about a minute ago, that's not so good. Yeah, I think I'm going to try pulling this bracket forward onto the bolt at the front and see whether that makes it any better. That should give me more space to bend it over a bit. At the moment I can't because that standoff's there. This side isn't a good one either. Obviously nothing's quite at the right level yet, but at the moment that's going to hit the rail. So I think I might go back to putting it back here, because at least here I've got a bit more space to bend it, because I haven't got these two bits to battle with. And now that that's a bit lower anyway, that should work. It looks like the corner will clear the rail there, and it does there, but I don't have the space to bend it back, so yeah. Right, I drilled out that stand to try and get a bit more room. Oh, we are so close, but I feel like we're still a little bit too far, so I think I'm going to trim that stand off so that the bracket doesn't hit it. Maybe just chop off the top so that the rest of it's there. This is the most ideal for this side. We're not hitting the valve cover. So yeah, I'm going to try and make it work. So I think I'm just going to cut the top of that standoff off. You can't quite see. And then that should mean I can bend these over further again still, which will hopefully make everything better anyway. So let's try that. Okay, so I cut off that standoff and now that fits like a dream. So really pleased with that. I am going to shuffle it along on the bracket though, just so that the nozzles clear the petrol injector in there. And then I'm going to come back and think about this side. Right, I'm happy with that. That's come out pretty well. This will bend over once it's bolted down, and the hoses can clear that way. I think this is going to be my longest run from cylinder 1, so when it comes to it, after I've got the actual injectors in and the fuel rail fitted, I'll use cylinder 1 as my guide, because all of these hoses have got to be the same length, so I'll work out cylinder 1 because that's definitely going to be the longest. It comes out that way and it's got to go quite some way. Then I'll cut all the others to length. We should be doing pretty good. So I'm going to take it all apart again now and clean and paint the valley, and then just go from there, work my way back up. Right, back inside, just in time as it started chucking it down outside. So I'm going to get hoses off, give it a good scrub, brake clean, then get the nozzles out, spray it, bake it in the oven for a little bit, and then that bit should be ready to go, and then move on to the plenum and the throttle body. Right, I'm going to start with getting the underside nice and clean with a Stanley blade and some brake cleaner, Just get this surface all nice and clean, tidy. Then I'll probably tape up the bottom just to protect it, stop it from getting dinged or anything like that while I'm working on the rest of it. Right, that's as clean as I can be bothered to get it. I used a flat stone or a block of wood with some wet and dry on the face below just to get that kind of uniformed and as clean as possible. Just got a break in the rain, so got this masked up. I think I'm going to mount it upside down and then spray like that, and then I should be able to get everywhere that I need to, and then transfer it to the oven for a bit. That's what the paint says to do. So, right, onto the plenum. The lower intake is in the oven. I've also sprayed the throttle body that's resting by the radiator. That's not going to go in the oven. And onto this one. So I've got a feeling that these might be soldered in. So first thing I'm going to do is heat it up with my trusty little blowtorch and then try and pull it out. Failing that, I might try and twist it out with mole grips, or I might just have to cut it and drill it. But I'm aiming to put an M6 hole in there, and if I can fit one, I want to put another one in a bit lower down as well, so that I've got two back references here. Right, that wasn't coming out with fire and grips, so I just lopped it off with a hacksaw. Made two terrible punches here for the next hole as well. I think I'll get the barb into that one and then work out underneath whether I've got space or which one to go for there. I thought lower down the better, but annoyingly I've put that off centre. Not that it really matters, but I am a bit OCD about that kind of thing. So we'll see once we'll see how that looks once I get a barb on. So in order to get this out, I'm just going to go with a tiny drill bit to start with and then work my way up just to try and get the fitting out. So yeah, this one doesn't quite fit, but I'm going to go through, and then I've got a whole range here to get bigger and bigger. Really, I want a 4.5mm hole, because that will be the correct for a... I'll double check that actually and I'll let you know in a minute, but it's a M6 tap, so I'm pretty sure that's the right one. That's good news. I kind of thought that might happen. As soon as it got deep enough and it bit into it, it just pulled out the brass fitting. So I'm going to size this up now and just do a double check on the pilot hole for M6, but all looking good. So after a quick check, it was a 5mm pilot hole needed for an M6 thread. Once I did the first hole, I thought I've definitely got enough space for the second one, so I did that, and they've come out both in line, and you won't even see that punch mark once I'm done. So I'm going to run a tap through it now, and then give this one a good clean. I've got to get these terminals out. When this is actually hot glued in. This is my intake air temp sensor. So I'm going to get the heat gun on this and just try and pull those out. The connector I had was Dodge, and as a, well, I guess a year-long workaround, I just had the boot going over the sensor and it actually stayed okay, but I got the correct connector now, so I'm going to get that sorted out as well. But yeah, first thing to do is to get these tapped. There we go, 2 M6 holes ready for barbs. So next thing to do is to get these terminals off the intake air temp, and I'll need the heat gun for that just to get the hot glue warm again. Right, everything that needs it has now had a fresh coat of VHT paint. I'm not entirely proud of how the paint came out. It is raining outside, and although I was trying to be sheltered, some bits have got a little bit of raindrops on them. But who cares? It should be fine. The valley's been in the oven now for an hour, so just turn the heat off on that. That is in theory ready to fit. And everything else is by the radiator or about to go into the oven. So I'm going to close this video. I think that's the end of all the plenum prep, as it were, and next we'll start rebuilding. So thanks for watching. I will catch you real soon in the next video. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and have a good rest of the day.